If you're someone who struggles to be consistent in the gym and you can't find the time to train, this video is for you. We're going to be breaking down the 6 movement patterns that every body should be able to perform in order for optimal health, strength, and longevity. And the best part about this video is we're going to show you how to build the perfect blueprint for your training so you can get in and out of the gym in under 30 minutes or less. My name's Brian Pickowicz.
And I'm Lindsey Rago, and we are the head coaches at the Fitness Project. At the Fitness Project, we focus on building fit and healthy leaders. Because when you have your health, when you are feeling your best, that is the foundation for you to have greater wealth, greater success, and a higher quality of life overall. So today, we're really diving deep into training, into building your body, into building your strength. But we want to kick off because we have some inspiration that brought this topic to us, and I think it was a study you found, right?
Yeah, so the first thing is understanding the power of habits, right? So understanding the power of keystone habits and the habits that we put in place that influence the other habits in our life. A lot of times people obsess about nutrition, right? They think abs are made in the kitchen, so I need to focus and obsess about my diet. Now, we'll talk about diet in another video, but the truth is the best way to influence your diet is to have healthy movement habits that remind you to live a healthy life. And so when we talk about what can we really do for longevity purposes, the most important thing we can do is exercise. The problem is 80% of Americans don't get enough exercise on a daily basis.
Bananas.
And this study came from an article I found in Yahoo Finance that was talking about movement and exercise and how it impacts our cognitive function. And this was back in 2018. So it's been almost 5 years.
It's probably way less now.
Well, it's probably, it's probably more, right? Yeah. It's probably a higher percentage of people that don't have enough exercise. Now, why is exercise important? Well, it improves our cardiovascular health. It improves our body's ability to regulate our insulin and our sugar uptake. It also helps with increasing muscle mass, and we're actually putting the right training in place. And muscle mass is the leading indicator for longevity. Mm-hmm. So having strong muscle, or having healthy muscle, having strong bones, allows us to live a longer life. Mm-hmm. And when you think of it, it makes sense because once you get up towards your 80s, 90s, if you can live to closer to that 100-year range, your ability to move and to hold your body and to get up and down is so vital. And what's really important to remember is that the habits that we have in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s are what's going to make the difference in how well we live into our older years. And so it is important, right, if we're thinking about changing our body for the way that we look, fantastic. If we're changing the body for the way that we feel, fantastic. But we also can start to build a better idea of how our life looks. And an interesting thing about optimizing our health, our lack of health in America leads to $117 billion in healthcare. So when we talk about B, and that's probably, this is from 2018, so I would guarantee that these stats are higher. The point is, though, you might say, well, that's not really impacting me today. But the truth is, if we're not optimizing for our health today, we will pay the price tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so if we can spend some time, 2 to 3 days a week, optimizing for our health, then we can really be in a great space. But there's really 2 challenges that we find that keep us from executing on the healthy way to live or putting the right exercises in place.
Well, I think, yes. And I think that one of the big challenges that comes up is actually between our ears when it comes to working exercise into our lifestyle. Because yes, for a lot of us now, we're sedentary, especially if you work, well, I say especially if you work at home, whether you work at home or the office, you have a commute. So it's usually sedentary. But one of the biggest challenges are our beliefs about what a good workout actually is. If we think that we need to burn 500 to 700 calories for a workout to be, quote, worth it, or if we feel like in order for it to be effective, our heart rate needs to be through the roof, or we need to be pouring sweat, then anything less than that is not going to feel like enough or worth your time, right? Makes sense. But the truth is, when it comes to these ideas or these beliefs that we hold about what a good workout is, they're not actually true. In order to have a strong body, to have a great body composition, to increase your longevity, you don't need to skyrocket your heart rate for an hour every day. You don't need to be pouring sweat. And you certainly do not need to burn off as many calories as possible to have that healthy body or the results that you want. So if we can start with knocking out the beliefs right off the bat, that, okay, maybe what you thought was a good workout is actually not true, then we can open up the possibility to see that, yes, 2 to 3 workouts a week, 30 minutes actually is enough if you're doing the right things. Well, that's what we're going to teach you.
And the piece to build off that, right? So if we don't understand what we need to do, then we say, okay, this way I've been marketed to is what I need. Right? It's I need to do the spin class, I need to do the HIIT class, I need to be constantly pushing my body. And we do need to push our body to progress, but there's a difference in the way that we've been told to push ourselves and what our body actually needs. And now the second constraint is time, right? And we know that time is a constraint because you have a career, you have a family, you have a business, you have all these things that take your attention away. And the truth is that you're not a fitness professional. And so fitness is one of these things that everyone feels like they ought to know already what they need to do. And I hear it all the time that people say, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it. And that's probably not true, because it's this form of cognitive dissonance that says what I know is accurate, right? It is good enough. And the truth is one of the biggest constraints on our time when it comes to getting in shape is actually what we don't know. So there's this gap, right, that says, okay, this is how much I know and this is what I really need to know in order to get results. And the what I need to know, it sucks so much time away from our life because we're trying to figure out the right workouts. We're trying to find time to go to the class or go to the boot camp. We're worried that what we're doing isn't really effective, which creates this mental bandwidth constraint that says, I know I need to go to the gym, but I'm not really seeing the results that I want. So is it worth the time? Right? And then that creates doubt, that creates worry, that creates this lack of belief. And eventually you just fall off course. And so time might be a physical constraint, but it also can be a mental constraint because we just don't know what to do.
Yeah, well, I like to say whenever I'm talking to somebody about exercise training, and I was the same way, by the way, like I'm not immune to anything we're sharing here. I had all these same beliefs, so if you are there, it's okay. With that said, exercise specifically, I always say time feels like the constraint, but the truth is that we don't know what to do with the time that we do have. Whatever fitness professional you hire or you look at or videos you review, they're not going to be able to give you more hours, right? Of course not. But they can help you make your time more effective so that you are certain that what you're doing is correct for your body, it's going to get you results, and it's making the most, again, of the time that you do have. And that's really our mission. So in summary, with regard to those constraints, important things to bust so that we can teach you these 6 core movement patterns and show you how to make an effective workout is that you don't need to go to a workout class to get a great workout. You don't need to burn 500 calories or sweat profusely in order to get a good workout. And better yet, there is a way to optimize for 30 to 40 minutes 2 to 3 times a week that will give you results, that will give you muscle, that will improve your longevity. That's what we're going to share with you.
Now, the main point to take away is that successful training isn't about doing 100 exercises. It's about learning how to do the simple, proper exercises consistently and progress them over time. There's a really great Bruce Lee quote that I wanted to put in here just to kind of start to bring this to light when we talk about executing the right things consistently and the value that it brings to our life. Bruce Lee said, "I fear not the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times." When we talk about the value of exercise, it's not the case that we have to go and do different exercises every week. We have to shock the body. That's just not true. What we need to do is we need to pick the right exercises, the right groups of exercises, the right variations of those exercises, but consistently get stronger with them, learn how to perform them better, and understand that those exercises are allowing our body to progress. And if we go into the gym each and every week and we're pushing our body's limits in those ranges, we are going to be more functional, we're going to get stronger, and we're going to see better results. So it's really about understanding what are the 20% efforts in the gym that create 80% of the results. And that really comes down to these 6 movement patterns that we're going to share today.
Right, and getting into those 6 movement patterns, the mindset here is that you're trying to teach your body how to get stronger in the movements or the positions that it should be able to move in easily. Rewind time about 300 years. What would you be doing for work every day? You would probably be doing some sort of manual labor, house care, etc. And you'd be pushing things, you'd be pulling things out of the ground, you'd be putting things overhead, you would be sitting down, standing back up, lunging. You would be moving every day, and you would be moving heavy things, correct? These movement patterns are meant to build strength in those natural patterns. Those 6 core movement patterns are first a squat, second a hinge. Think about your hips hinging backwards, like a deadlift or a Romanian deadlift. A lunge, a push, a row, and 6th, a carry. These 6 core movement patterns are what are going to make up the pillars of your workouts. Now note, there's a lot of different variations of these movements, and they can progress and change over time, and they will. But these 6 are really the core of any great workout program, if you will.
And so you know this, right? So this, now you have this knowledge. I need to be focusing on doing a squat, a hinge, a lunge, a push, a row, and a carry. And a carry would be picking up a heavy weight, walking to one point of the gym, and maybe walking back. There's different exercises you can do that mimic different benefits to the body, or give different benefits to the body. But it's important to understand that these are where we really want to build from. Now, these are called compound movements. A compound movement is an exercise that recruits more than one muscle group at a time in order to execute the movement. So when I think of a squat, I'm using my core to engage my body so I don't round my back and get hurt. I'm using my glutes, my quads, my hamstrings are involved. I'm also engaging with the floor. Whereas the difference would be an isolated movement or isolation exercise like a quad extension, right? Where I'm sitting and I'm just flexing my quads and going up on the machine. Now, doesn't mean you can't do those exercises, but if we're really getting the most out of our workouts and really optimizing for what our body should be doing, you're never going to be in a position where you need to flex your quads like that. Very seldom. That's not a movement that you see in life. But you will have to sit down at some point. You will need to squat down on the floor and pick something up. So we want to be thinking of these exercises ways that we can increase our longevity and optimize our strength, because it's recruiting the full body. When we think of a bench press or a push-up, right? My chest is involved. My shoulders are also involved. My triceps are involved. My abs are involved, right? Because even though we think, okay, I'm doing a bench press, I'm using the top part of my body. Truth is that our core should be stabilizing, right? My back should be against the pad when I'm benching. My legs should be driving to the ground. It doesn't really matter which variation you're doing. Like Lindsay said, there's multiple variations. It's just starting to construct an idea. Like, that's why I want to do these exercises.
Correct. It gives them purpose.
It gives them purpose. It gives you something that's optimal, right? So we talk about the 20% effort that creates 80% of results. You can go do a bicep curl, but wouldn't it be better to do some kind of rowing exercise that still recruits your bicep but also hits your back?
Right.
If we can optimize for that at the front of the workout, then we'll see far greater results.
Absolutely.
But diving into the specifics, how do you take this knowledge and turn it into something that's applicable or actionable? Well, what we want to do is, ideally, we want to think, I need to train 2 to 3 days a week. If you can train 2 to 3 days a week and then have some walking in the rest of your week, you'll be very healthy. But I'm going to talk more as if you're just training twice, right? Because we're starting to build the habit. What we're going to start with is we're going to take those 6 movement patterns and we're going to try to put 3 of them into our workout. So I might say, hey, I'm going to build around a squat and a hinge. Okay, so I'm going to do squat, hinge, deadlift, and lunge. And maybe I'll put in some other exercises at the end. But that's what I'm going to build around. I'm going to build around my lower body. And the second day, I'm going to build around my upper body. So knowing that I have those exercises in place, I'm going to start a workout with 3 to 5 minutes of mobility around the muscle groups that need to be activated. So if I'm going to be training a squat, I need to open up my hips. I need to engage my glutes. I need to make sure that my hamstrings and quads are warmed up. I don't want to just be going into the squat. I want to spend a solid 3 to 5 minutes doing a quick circuit to warm up those muscles and warm up that area so that when I go and perform the exercise, I'm safe. right? So it doesn't work anymore to just go to the barbell if you're a guy, right? A lot of guys do this. You go, say it's a bench day. So my warm-up's going to be just doing the bar and just stretching a little bit this way and that way. That's not how it works. We've been sitting all day. We've been working on our computers. Our shoulders are rounded. Our hips are tight. We need to offset that with the proper exercises. So this is something you're going to do at the front of any workout, 3 to 5 minutes warming up. And just to kind of give you some basic exercises for your hips, glute bridges. I'm going to do some hip hydrants. I'm going to do maybe some dynamic frog exercises. And these are things you can write down and look up on your own. And then if I'm opening up my upper body, I'm probably going to do cat-cow. I'm probably going to do some lying thoracic rotations. Ideally band pull-aparts to warm up the back of my shoulder. But these are things you can just say, hey, I'm going to do 2 sets of 10 reps each exercise. Do them as a circuit, and that's going to be my baseline for a warm-up.
Yeah, just activating the muscle before you actually have to use it so that you're not going from cold to hot.
Yep.
Which is where most injuries happen, as you said.
Precisely.
Right.
And so from there, you have your warm-up. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go and execute the actual exercises. So I know, hey, I'm doing a lower body day, right, for lack of a better term. I'm going to start with a squat, and I'm going to then go and do my hinge or my deadlift. And that the great thing about these exercises, you can start with body weight and just start to mimic the exercise, and then in time you can add resistance or add weight. If you're comfortable with them already, you can start doing like a goblet squat, and then do a kettlebell deadlift, and then do a body weight lunge or an in-place lunge, and that would be effective just to do something to start the process. But you can expand this as you go. But for someone who's got that exercise or that workout routine, so they have the squat happening, then they have the hinge happening, and then they have the lunge, what are some ways they should think about progressive overload, Linz?
Yeah, so the other question that would come up is, okay, now you're thinking these are the, quote, right exercises or the things that I should be doing, but how many times do I do them, right? How should I organize them? A lot of, we'll say box gyms have a circuit set up, which is where you do one set and you go around in a circuit, and maybe you repeat the circuit a few times, but you're doing one set of each exercise back to back. That's actually not the most effective way to do it, and we'll tell you why. But when you go around and you do one circuit, you are effectively raising your heart rate, you're challenging your body a little bit, but you're not actually progressively building muscle because you're tiring out your whole body. You have a long break for each exercise, and it's just not as effective as it could be. Although it does get your heart rate up and it's good exercise, right? But it's not effective. So what we want to do instead for each of these exercises that we've walked through, if you have space for a couple of extra exercises, then wonderful. We could call those auxiliary movements that maybe are more isolated. But for these compound movements, we're going to focus on doing 3 to 4 sets of repetitions, which I'll go over in a moment. But if you're doing 3 to 4 sets of an exercise, we'll say anywhere from 8 to 12 reps or so, then you're going to think, okay, my first set should be fairly easy. Again, getting blood flow going, getting used to the movement. Your second set should challenge you much more, but you should still be able to complete that full rep range. And then your last set, that should be pretty challenging. That should be pretty tough to get all the way to the end of that rep range. Okay, so think of this as by the end of those 3 to 4 sets, you should be feeling like you're exerting yourself from 70 to 80% of all that you've got, effort-wise. Okay, you can also think of this in pyramid sets. And pyramid sets are a great way to progressively overload, which is what Brian was talking about, where you're progressively overloading the muscle. Okay, you progressively overload the muscle by adding a little bit more weight and a little bit more challenge every set. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to say you're just going to increase the weight a little bit so that it gets more challenging. Okay, because you can also do time under tension. You can do some different things to challenge your body. Again, simplicity says 3 to 4 sets, increase the weight a little bit each time to increase the exertion rate that you have to put in to get all the way to the end of that range. A pyramid set is very simple. If you were to imagine a pyramid, it kind of goes up and in, gets smaller as you go up. As you raise that weight and raise the challenge of each set, you won't be able to, most likely, do as many reps as you did the last set. So as your weights go up, your sets or the amount of reps, the amount of reps you do goes down. If you do that, then you are effectively doing a pyramid set.
The easiest way to think of this is the first set's going to be 12 reps. Second set would be a little bit heavier and do 10 reps. Third set might be 8 reps with a little bit more weight. And you might even reach that 8 reps and say, whew, that was really challenging. Then you do that again, right? You do that same amount of weight for that last set. And kind of to give a specific example for someone who's listening to this, it's like the first set should feel like it's 50% effort. 50% effort, simple, easy. The next set maybe 60%. Third set's maybe 70, and maybe that last one's a little bit harder, 70 to 75. Just getting in that habit, and then the next week going a little bit harder, going a little bit heavier, or maybe even 4 weeks from there, right? Maybe you get really comfortable and you say, okay, I've done this for 4 weeks now, I'm going to get a little bit heavier. That's how you want to be thinking about it.
Yep.
And in between each set, you're going to take about 20 to 30 seconds off.
Yeah, don't take like 5 minutes.
Yep, so 20 to 30 seconds. Ideally, not scrolling through your phone, but
it's hard, I know.
But breathing and getting your body ready, and then going back into it. Right. The benefit of this, though, is so let's say you have those 2 to 3 exercises. So you're going to do squat, hinge, and a lunge. Okay, so you have 3 or 4 sets you're going to do each one. That you're going to also take 30 seconds in between as a rest. That's going to take about 20 to maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
I say so.
You had the 5 minutes of warming up. That means you're at 25 minutes. And then you still have 10 to 15 minutes if you want to do, as Lindsey said, any auxiliary lifts. So this might be working more on your glutes. This might be working on your abs. This might be working on your biceps or your triceps or your calves. This might be adding an extra exercise in for a muscle group that you want to see change. Right, so if I was doing upper body, I might do, and these are all based off of how many days a week you want to dedicate to this, because you could do a push, pull, and legs, which is a chest and shoulders and triceps, a back and biceps, and then a leg day. So you could have an extra day, and then you can kind of optimize for more of how you want to get, let's say, an aesthetic look, or if you want to have certain parts of your body change, you can optimize for that. But on the example, I might do an upper body day that's a push, a row, a carry, and then I might do a chest fly with a side raise on my shoulders, and then some kind of tricep and bicep exercise. Boom, I'm in and out of the gym in 30 to 40 minutes. I've been effective, I've gotten stronger, I've pushed my body, and what's really important to note, when you think of optimizing your training, it's really easy to think doing the same exercises again and again and again is boring. But what we have to remember is every single time we get to go to the gym, it is a new workout. I'm going in there with new information, which was last week I could only do this exercise for 15 pounds at 12 reps. Awesome. Now I know what my body is capable of. Let's see if I can push it a little bit further. Let's see if I can push it a little bit further. And it's so important to remember that every time you're going into the gym, it is a different exercise because you weren't who you were last week. And it's this constant push forward, this constant development of our body that allows us to get more out of our training and enjoy it more too. The wonderful thing about all these exercises, though, is there's so many different variations that you can work up to. So if you're starting with just a bodyweight squat, you can go to a goblet squat. You can go from a goblet squat to a machine squat to a barbell squat to a Bulgarian split squat, and each exercise works the same way. So what you're doing today, it will develop over time. But if you're going to the gym with this information, you're saying, hey, I'm going to go in and be effective for 30 minutes. I'm going to warm up my hips. I'm going to warm up my shoulders, whatever I'm focusing on that day. I'm going to go and do these 3 exercises and add 2 or 3 more at the end. I guarantee you will get stronger. Your body will change. You'll feel better. And the ultimate result is you will have that longevity because you are stronger and you're consistent. So you no longer have the excuse of, I need to get a perfect workout in. I need to burn 500 calories. I couldn't make it to the class. Yeah. Go to the gym, warm up, just do 3 of these exercises. You'll be great. And then build off of that as you go.
Yes. last tips here, and as we close down, these are going to be a quick little tie down and then recap. But as you're going and you're doing this and you're thinking, okay, let's put this into action, because that's what we want from this. We don't want you to just take information and do nothing with it. That's the worst crime of all. If you have this information and you want to go into the gym, now think, okay, Lindsey and Brian just gave me 6 different movements I can do. Pick 2 to 3 of them, write them down in your phone or on a piece of paper in a notebook. Write down, okay, Lindsey said 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Write that down. And then when you go into the gym, track how much weight you did so that now you have a baseline, because this is really a learning process, very much a learning process. You have to see what your body can do today and understand that it's going to progress over time. But if you just walk into the gym and say, oh, okay, they said kind of do some of this, kind of do some of that, and you try to wing it, it's very discouraging and it will feel like a waste of time, and you'll unintentionally spend more time than you need to. So take this, get prepared, and then go in there. But in summary, remember, every single workout doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10 exertion, full sweat, burn 600 calories. That is ineffective, if anything. And it makes it a lot harder for you to hit that bar and get in there consistently. So with everything that we've told you, focus on hitting these core movements. Focus on building that mobility before you get into those movements. And then focus on properly, progressively overloading, long phrase there, each movement that you do so that you can get in there, be effective, and get out in 30 to 40 minutes or less, 2 to 3 times a week. That's really the mission.
So this is the baseline. This is also the basics, the fundamentals, and the best thing about the fundamentals is they work. We hope this is helpful in getting you to the point where you can be consistent and really make this a foundation in your life. So we thank you for being here. We hope you're in a great space and you're getting healthier and stronger. And we hope that you can go out and conquer your day.
Cheers.
Cheers.